there is no wrong way to start. Starting is more important than what path you pick, because you can change paths. You can course correct if you realize this is not for me. Starting is more valuable and more critical than what it is you're starting. Because real estate, whether you're wholesaling, fix and flip, syndication 506B, syndication 506C, and I'm using a bunch of acronyms, but if you're looking to get started in real estate, the best thing you can do is get in the room with the people who are doing what you want to do. Whatever it takes, however much it costs, that's what you got to do.
You're listening to the Guerrilla State Investing Podcast. We're not here to bruise your bananas with guru sales pitches, overrated fluff, or any other kind of monkey business. We simply provide the ground-pounding truth about what it takes to be successful in real estate.
All right, Guerrillas. Today's guest is Yeadon Smith, all the way from Charleston, South Carolina. Yeadon is the COO of Live Oak Capital, as well as he runs the My First Million in Multifamily Facebook group with his cousin Jennings. He's also a soon-to-be Ironman. I've been watching a lot of your Facebook posts that you put while you're training, and just kind of relating training to real estate, the difficulties. You talk about experience.
Training relates to so many things in life.
Yeah, man. You guys have a good Facebook following. You guys are doing good things in that group. If you don't follow Yeadon and Jennings, man, you need to go do it right now. But Yeadon, I'll just get right to it.
I appreciate that, brother. Thanks for the kudos.
Yeah, man. No,
let's do it.
Let's get right to it. What are you doing to get out of the middle class?
So what am I doing to get out of the middle class? I'm doing multifamily. I'm doing apartments to get out of the middle class. Real estate, all sorts of real estate. When I started in real estate, I didn't really think of myself as actively getting out of the middle class. I just think like, I just got to get my bills paid, save some money so I can go on vacation and make a little bit more money so I can max out my 401k every year. Follow Dave Ramsey's plan and I'm gonna be good to go.
Yep. Yep. And you started out, you were a youth minister, you were a health coach, and then didn't you start your own real estate brokerage?
Yeah. So my journey in business, and it's funny because I tell people now the question I ask is, hey, you ever thought about investing in real estate? The question I asked as a health coach was, hey, would you like to lose weight?
Yeah.
That is a tough question to ask.
Yeah.
And then the question I asked in youth ministry is, do you know Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior? That's also a really difficult question to ask a stranger. Like, my questions have gotten easier as I've progressed in business. And strangely enough, my compensation has skyrocketed as the questions have gotten easier. When I was in youth ministry, I was full-time making $36,000 a year, $40,000 a year in El Paso, Texas. And actually, that is the only reason why I have any money in an IRA, because I put money in the IRA from my salary, just like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Then once I got into health coaching, helping people lose weight, that was my first kind of foray into entrepreneurship, running my own show. I didn't have a boss anymore, just, hunting and eating, shooting and killing, transactional based clients. And then into real estate, the same thing, that same sort of networking skill set that you have to have in a multi-level marketing company. That skill set transfers into real estate brokerage really, really well. Going to events, going to networking events, going to coffees, going to lunches, after hours, things like that, talking to people about real estate. And that really started my entry into the real estate world, but very much on I'm an agent helping people buy and sell houses. I'm going to make $300,000 a year and I'm going to save 100 of it. And I'm going to be a million. I'm going to, buy a couple rental properties and I'll be a millionaire and retire when I'm 60. That sort of mentality. And I had to change my thinking. I remember really, honestly, it was a Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? It's like the cash flow game changed my perspective on what it means to get out of the middle class. Really, now my idea of wealth is not the size of my bank account. That's just how much cash I have. Wealth to me is how much passive income is coming in every month versus what am I spending on my life? And as soon as that scale tips, bam, Done.
Yeah, I think I'm actually rereading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm doing it with my daughter, and the chapter I'm on right now is the quote was, "It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep." And he talks about that cash flow runway, right? Like rich have money, the wealth have money coming in, and the question is, if you stopped working today, like today, I threw out my back yesterday. Right now, I'm like, it's having trouble walking, and I think about that. Like, what if my job was construction, or if I dependent on my ability to go into work to make money right now, I'd be down and out. It would be painful to my family's ability to survive. But because of real estate, the money, people are still paying rents, the money's still coming in from the Airbnbs and the hotels and stuff like that. And I look at your track record: youth minister, health coach, real estate brokerage. All three of those things are either salaried or transactional. You're changing, you're trading your money for your time or your skills for your time.
Exactly right. And when I was trading my time for money, trading my skill set for transactional money, you have to, the only way you succeed in going from middle class to millionaire is you have to live way below your means. Right. It's like the FIRE movement: financially independent, retire early. Those guys are crazy. But that works if you have a $150,000 job and you're living on 30 and you're saving 100 a year. Yeah. You can be financially independent because you're funneling it all into investments, but traditional investments. And then when you have a $5 million investment portfolio, you're making $60,000 a year just off the passive dividends. When I realized from the general brokerage side that all I was doing was hunting and killing. Like every time I had a closing, I had to go find another client. Like there was no consistency with how much money I didn't have a business. Yeah. I was just a high paid freelancer is what I was.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything that had market value. Then Jennings and I partnered up and we started Live Oak Rental Properties, the property management company. And that's when I first saw the power of recurring revenue that is predictable.
Yeah.
Because that's what we had there. And from there, it was an easy step. Well, I don't want to say easy. It was a natural step to look at, okay, we're on the management side. How do we get on the ownership side? Jennings had been studying how to buy apartments, apartment syndication, Michael Blanc, stuff that it was out there 3 years ago that is still around today. Now there's a lot more people that have courses and stuff that you can, even us, we have stuff.
Yeah.
But I started looking at that, started learning about this stuff and realizing, wow, I don't have to save up $50,000 so I can buy a rental house. I can use other people's money to invest in a 10-plex. I get a piece, the investors get a piece, we all make money, and then there's passive cash flow. And then we just do it over and over and over again until one day you got $10,000 of passive cash flow coming in every month that you don't have to show up for.
Yeah.
And bam.
This is so just recently on our Facebook group, somebody asked the question, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do want it to be a topic because it's an interesting question. I've seen it going around Facebook a lot, but the question is, would you rather $10,000 a month in income guaranteed for the rest of your life, or $1 million today? And it's a controversial question because I asked my wife this question and she wants the $10,000 a month. And me, I'm like, I want the $1 million today. And I think it really does. Let me put you on the spot. Immediate thoughts. Which one would you rather have?
Immediate thoughts. So let's see, in order to get, because here's how I think about it, right? I started thinking about this with the apartments. So I don't know what my answer is. I'm thinking in real time here.
Yeah.
In order to create $10,000 of passive income, how much money would I have to invest? What does that investment look like if I were to go after it? And $10,000, that's $120,000 a year. You'd have to have way more than $1 million somewhere to be generating $120,000 in cash flow a year. You'd probably have to have 3 to 4 million, assuming 3 to 4% dividends every year off the money to get that $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
At the same time, me knowing what I know now with real estate and everything, I could take $1 million and I could probably find an asset that would generate more than $120,000 a year in cash flow at some point in the future. But you know what? I think I would probably go with the $10,000 a month. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because with $10,000 a month, that's your foundation. You have $1 million. When the $1 million is gone, that's it. You have to take the $1 million. And honestly, I know it is harder to find places to put $1 million than people think that will make money. Having the $10,000 a month would give me the flexibility and foundation to take very large risks.
That's true.
That would pay off. And because if it didn't work out, it's like, that's okay. My base is set. I can recover and I can try again. With the $1 million, if you make a $500,000 decision and it turns out to be a mistake, that 500 grand is gone. It's not coming back.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you get back 300 of it, but it's like you lose capital. Losing the capital is very difficult to recover from. So I'm thinking out loud. I think I would go with the $10,000 a month guaranteed, because then my brain space is freed up. We're like, okay, I don't have to worry about any of this. I don't have to worry about my lights. I don't have to worry about my mortgage. I don't have to worry about my cars. Like, what can I really focus on because honestly, if you have $10,000 in passive income, I don't care whether you have $1 million in the bank or not. You a millionaire.
Yeah. It's an interesting question because it makes you consider the time value of money. Right. Like, because, and I have a very
true.
Yeah.
Very true. $1 million now ain't gonna be worth $1 million next year. It'll be worth, $950.
Yeah. But the argument that I have, and this is good. This is good conversation because I'm different, right? I'm in the military. I'm about to retire. My bases will be covered with my retirement stipend, right? So that's covered for me, plus my current passive income. But you bring up a good point. Having a guaranteed $10,000 a month frees up your ability to take more. Yeah, you can. Yeah,
you have unlimited runway to do what you want with your life. If you have $1 million, you have a long runway. I mean, even if you're chewing through it at $10,000 a month, you got 7-8 years before that money's gone.
Yeah,
depending on inflation.
I think it takes just over 8 years for $10,000 a month to equal $1 million. That's what, when I heard that, I was like, well, damn, I could get that 1 million a day. And then here's what I would do. If I could take the 1 million in the simplest way and find an investment that pays me 12% return. Now I have my $1 million in equity and I'm earning $120,000 a year off of it. Now easier said than done, right? But there are plenty of people. You guys have syndications. We have syndications. They're pushing out 12 to 15% annualized return.
Oh yeah.
You can continue doing that, but you have to know how to do that. And that's why the question is good, because really the answer is, what are your opportunities? I think
you just nailed it.
Yeah.
Because if you're depending on where you are in life, right? I mean, with what I know now, I would take the $1 million. Because I could make way more than $120,000 a year with $1 million.
Yeah,
no problem. But I have 3 years of experience specifically in syndication and apartments and commercial real estate. Before that, I have 5 years of hustling of property management and general brokerage. I have 5 years of hustling weight loss. I have 10 years of hustling youth ministries. Like, I have a significant amount of experience with life added to my knowledge and experience specifically in the multifamily space, commercial real estate, to where I could take the $1 million, and I don't know that it would be easy to get it to 120,000 a year, because I'd have to think about what the numbers look like, but I think it'd be easy.
Yeah. I mean, I know that $1 million is a down payment for about $5 million of real estate.
Yeah.
And I did some quick math, and I think I could go find a property. Actually, I know I could go find a property that would, after the debt services, cash flow close to 200,000. And that would probably take me 6 months to be able to do that. And in 6 months, I'm cash flowing 200,000 versus the other person who's cash flowing 120. Plus I got $1 million in equity. But again, this goes back to like, it's the Rich Dad Poor Dad, dude. It is such a good foundation. That's why I'm going back to reread it. It's been 10 years since I've read it, but I went back to reread it and all the stuff is still true. And the chapter before, they were talking about the importance of financial literacy. And so guys like me and you, we're going to have completely different ideas on why, like my wife, $10,000 a month. She will never say anything other than that. Me, I'm like, I want the $1 million a day because I know, I have the information to go out and invest.
I can turn it into 5 in the next 3 years.
Yeah. And
then I can turn that 5 into 10 in the 5 years after that.
Yeah. And it goes back
today, I would go for the $1 million.
Yeah.
3 years ago, I would have gone for $10,000 a month because I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the relationships. That's really what it is.
Absolutely.
I didn't have the relationships 3 years ago that I do now because all of the opportunities that we have had have come from relationships, period.
And you and Jennings are good about that, man. I'll say like your guys' group is close to 25,000 members. You also have the deal room, which is the breakout, like the more exclusive action taker group, which is the paid subscription. I'm part of that. But the one thing that you guys do is you've created an environment to where people can learn. And then when they learn, they bring you guys opportunities. So you don't have to go out there and sell yourself anymore. It's essentially things are being brought to you because of the investment you've made in the people who follow you. And I see it every week. You guys are doing Q&As. You guys are helping people underwrite deals. You guys are posting information. You're responsive in the group. That's an investment into the group. Even the unpaid group gets benefit from it.
Oh yeah.
So they join your group. They see the benefit of it. It creates that loyalty. And then once they're trained up enough, they've taken your course. Well, why wouldn't they bring you guys opportunities to say yes or no to, or to help them with it? So it's kind of like an environment you guys have created to where opportunities are brought to you. You don't have to go out and search them, hunt them down anymore. It's not the shoot and kill like you were talking about. And I am interested in how you guys did it. And what was your biggest hurdle to have to jump to get to where you are today with the following, with the group?
That is a really good question. And actually, I might be jumping over to one of your other questions we talked about before you pushed record, like what really bruises my bananas.
All right.
Well, but what this might not be what actually pisses me off about the industry, but Jennings and we specifically designed the deal room, which is our paid subscription mentorship group, so that we are not the bottleneck.
Okay.
Because we have gone, I've studied all of Michael Blank's stuff. I've studied all of Tim Brotz's stuff. And this is not a knock against those guys. Those guys helped me get to where I am. I've never met Michael Blank, but I love Tim. I'm in Tim's mastermind. But when I went through all of their material, at the end of it was, hey, we will partner with you if you find something like this. Of course, as you know, trying to find something that fits in a specific buy box.
It's hard to do. Yeah.
It's like the movie Gone in 60 Seconds, the 1965 fastback GT. It wasn't a 65 because that's the first year, but the Eleanor Mustang, the one car out of a million, trying to find something that fits a leader in this industry's buy box is very, very difficult. Very difficult. And Jennings and we very specifically, even though there is deal flow in the deal room, we designed it very intentionally so that we are not the bottleneck, so that people have multiple ways to analyze deals, multiple ways to skin the cat, whether it's JV, syndication, seller carry, full seller financing, whatever it is, they have different options. And so that they're not like, hey, Jennings, Yeadon, I think this fits your model. What do you think? Because I can already say with 95% certainty, it's not going to fit.
Yeah.
It's not going to fit, even without even looking at it. And people get frustrated when they try something and it doesn't work. They try something and it doesn't work. There's only so many times people can persevere through failure. There's a limit on how many times people can do that. And we didn't want people to feel like they were banging their head into a concrete wall every time they get excited, like, oh man, I think I found a deal. Let me talk with Jennings and Yeadon and see if we can make it happen. And that's why we've specifically, even though there's a lot of deal flow, our opportunity has explosively grown because of the deal room for deal flow. We want, I want you to be able to partner with Ryan Dumas. I want you to be able to partner with Shanika, with Tim Best, with someone in the deal room without me.
Yeah.
I don't want you to need me to get a deal done, because then that explodes what's possible for you. Right.
And it's true. I see people in the deal, because there's a lot of chatter in any Facebook group that's got 20,000+ people in it. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of tire kickers. There's a lot of repetitive questions. There's that level of experience that you just can't get beyond, right? Mm-hmm. Because every new person that comes in is probably going to ask the most questions right away, and then eventually you're going to get tired of answering the same questions, right? I see it. I see people. It happen. So that higher level of how
many times do I have to explain what NOI means?
Correct. And it clogs it up. But it is a good in there. You guys, there's just enough value for people to be like, all right, I'm learning from this group, but I still this other thing, this exclusive group called the Deal Room, that really you're not getting into it unless you pay. And as much as people might say, I don't want to have to pay for someone to answer questions. Well, think of it as a gym membership. If you have your home gym, how many pieces of exercise equipment do you have in your house that just have laundry hanging off of it? Right. But whenever you pay that gym membership and you're paying that $100 a month, you feel like you had better go get your money's worth.
It's funny you say it, because I just finished I meet with a trainer on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yep. I don't even have a gym membership, because I know having a gym membership, I'm still not going to go. $20 a month. And I hate to sound blasé, but $20 a month is not enough for me to invest in something.
Yeah.
For me to be invested. My trainer, he charges $50 an hour. It's and I pay every month. I'm going.
Yep.
I'm going on Thursday. Even if I don't want to, I'm going to go, even if I'm only putting out half effort at a specific moment. It's I'm still there consistently showing up every time. And that's why the deal room has a cost. Is if you're in, it is going to cost you, and we want you to make your money back 10x, but you have to be invested yourself to be able to do the work and take the action. It's like physical therapy. When you go to physical therapy, they don't do the work for you.
Yeah.
You have to be the one doing the work, or you're not going to get the results you need. And it's this, but you have to be invested into something to take it seriously. Right. It's like the whole story. We all know the story. Growing up, Mom, Dad, I want a bike for Christmas. Nope, not buying you a bike for Christmas. You want a bike? You save your money. You buy your own bicycle. Because if you spend $100 on your own bicycle, now this was back, 30 years ago, when a really good bicycle was $100.
Yeah.
Now, the cheap ones start at 100. But I had to save my money to buy a bicycle, because my parents were like, if you spent $100 of your own money on a bicycle, you're not going to leave it out in the rain.
You'll take care of it. Yeah.
You're going to take care of it. You're going to lock it up when you go into, Garen's pharmacy to get some candy and a soda. You're going to take care of it because it took you all summer to save up $100 to buy this thing, instead of, hey, I have a bicycle and it didn't cost me anything. So I don't, it doesn't cost me anything if it's gone. Yeah. There's nothing for me to lose. I don't have any skin in the game, so to speak. I understand why banks want investors to have skin in the game.
And I agree with it too. It's also, you guys are putting your time into it. Time is a valuable thing. And you guys are, if you're in the deal room and you get access to the weekly calls or the Q&As, you guys may post the recording of the calls, but you're not the one, the people in the deal room, the ones actually getting to answer the questions. If I'm going to spend an hour of my time every single week answering questions for people, I want those people to be serious about what I'm putting out.
Exactly.
Right? And I know you're not serious if you're not willing to pay and invest in yourself. And I have this thing about me. It's like, and I think it's natural to everybody, but I'm not willing to help you unless you're willing to help yourself. And if you're not willing to help yourself, invest in yourself, why the hell would I invest in you at all? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And I see that. I like you guys' structure. I agree with it, and I have no problem with that. It's like $247 a month or something like that being in there, because when I ask a question, it gets answered. And in fact, there's a guy down in St. Croix doing due diligence on a
Jimmy
hotel.
Thorpe,
Yeah, Jimmy Thorpe. He's doing due diligence on a hotel. He's looking at a hotel, and he was asking me if I wanted to sponsor it. And I said, go down there and do some due diligence and send me the results. And I've never met Jimmy. We've been on the call a couple of times, but I met him through the deal room. That would have never even been an opportunity.
It's the relationship.
Yep.
It's the relationships that make the difference. Jennings and I, just in the past 90, 120 days, past 3-4 months, we have really come to the belief that, to go from middle class to millionaire, you're only one relationship away.
Yeah.
You're just one relationship away, right? Jimmy down in St. Croix found the relationships he needed in My First Million. And then by jumping My First Million, since if you're in a group that doesn't cost you anything, it didn't cost anybody else anything to be there either.
Yeah.
Our very first like live event that we did, it was not cheap for people to come. It was like $3,000 a ticket for people to come. But I wasn't in the conversation with these three guys who came, but three guys, Tim Vitale, Tim Vest, and I think Sam Barr were there. And I got word after, the day after, they were sitting there on the boat realizing Sam had a deal. Tim could do the due diligence, and the other Tim could sponsor the loan. And they had a fourth guy that could raise the kid, like, bam, just like that. They realized the relationships they needed were sitting there in front of them. They put a team together, and they closed the deal.
And I like that because you guys put together like a weekend on a yacht, right? And
yeah, that was our first yacht event that we had last year.
You went all in, and you planned that, correct? Like, it's the first meetup that you guys did was going out on a yacht, cigars, high-end whiskey. I'm like, shit, man, I'm in the wrong clubs. And I want to go. You guys are across the country for me, so it's a logistics problem for me. But
it's
I do want to go to one of those
to get across the country. Yep.
Yeah, man.
I do not like traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast and back. That ain't no fun.
No, but I see that you basically you guys had a large meetup. And then the paid version, again, to go out on the yacht, were the more serious folks, the people willing to invest in themselves. And you said it was $3,000. But if you come out of that with a relationship for a deal that's going to make you $300,000, well, then who cares if it costs $3,000?
It is a no-brainer, right? People don't buy on cost; they buy on value. And I'm not. We charge so that people are invested in themselves, right? We charge so that people are invested in. It's like, it is going to cost you if you don't follow through on the information that you're learning here.
100%. And that, something that recently happened to me, and this was today that this happened. So, or yesterday it happened. We as in me and my investing team, we were getting outbid. And this was when the market was really rising. We're in North Florida, getting outbid, like getting laughed off the lot by brokers. And I made the decision. I said, look, man, we're having trouble. But the reason that we're getting outbid is because it's not the price. It's our offers are weak. We got too many, like we're wanting 45 days due diligence. We're wanting all these contingencies in there. And finally, when we made the mindset, said, look, if it's in Panama City, Florida, we know the market so well. We know what it's going to be worth. We know what we're doing. We have got to commit. Let's remove the contingencies. Let's offer a little more, and let's pay cash, because we all had it. We had the cash to buy this one property, and there were like 10 offers in it. And I remember us saying, look, guys, we know what we're doing. We've got to believe and stop trying to protect. What are we trying to protect ourselves from? The worst thing that can happen if we do this is we end up with a property that makes less than we thought it would, but it's going to make us some money. We know it. We've done our research. Like we believed in ourselves in every way, but signing on the dotted line for a strong offer, right? So what we ended up doing is we paid all cash for this 10-unit apartment complex, right? 7-day close, no contingencies. We got 1 hour to inspect the property before close. So we went and did this.
Wow.
And
That is hardcore.
Look, I say it, but I wouldn't.
Dude, if I got an offer like that on one of my properties that I was trying to sell, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. That's the one I want.
Well, yeah, exactly. We knew that there was 10 other offers. We knew we had to come in strong. We put in $55,000 over asking because we knew that everybody else was going to try and do about 50,000. We removed the contingencies, 7-day close, no contingencies. And guess what? We closed that property. We had to put $160,000 into it. So we paid $355,000. Mm-hmm. Had to put 160 into it.
Yep.
And during renovations, we found the oh shit. There was half of the property had termite rot, and we had to replace the entire outside. Joey Bickham's got a picture of him sitting on the toilet inside while there's guys working on the property from the outside. The whole side of the house is wide open. And we're just like, here it is. Here's the worst thing that could have happened. And it cost us 25 grand. So we just had to do a cash call to pay 25 grand. Right. But
those are always fun.
The same day that we had to do the cash call. And the only reason we had to do a cash call is because we had gone over our budget because we didn't account for that 25 grand.
Yeah.
I think we had a $10,000 slush fund. The same day that we had to do the cash call, we were, God damn it, we have to do a cash call. Like, what kind of investors are we? The appraisal came back.
The normal kind.
Yeah,
that's what you're the normal kind.
But the appraisal.
That's not a failure. That's normal in this biz.
Yeah, and I got the numbers right here. So the appraisal came back.
Okay.
We were all in at 585. So we bought it for 355. Put one, whatever that number is. Appraisal came back, $1,090,000 appraisal.
Holy crap!
Right. So because we got
man, you're so lucky. Oh man.
Yeah, look,
you just got it handed to you on a platter.
Yeah.
If I had that, I'd be a millionaire too.
Yeah, but those are, and this is something I chatted with Jennings about, which was funny, was because you're gonna see it before this post. We're gonna post this success story. Bob, oh man, look at us. We added $500,000 in value in 8 months. Look at us. Blah blah blah. But what I'm going to add to that post is, here's what you didn't see. You didn't see us scared shitless. That EMD that we put down was not refundable.
Yeah.
That no inspections that we had to do, we expected that maybe we would find $10,000 in problems. We found 25. You didn't see us having to scrape together the money for the cash payment and the 8 months that we set without that cash, reducing our expenses at home. Right. You didn't see how much time it took for us to have that cash built to be able to do that. It's probably
you didn't see the emotional knot in the pit of my stomach.
It's probably
3 months.
5 years of leading up to that moment to where we were finally the cash buyers in town that everybody hates. All these people buying all cash. I don't get it. No, we were those people that time, and we outbid it, and we did it. And look, I had this conversation with my wife. I said, babe, our takeaway from that is going to be about 50. We're going to get our initial investment all the way back, $56,000 in equity earned, and we still have equity in the property, and it's going to cash flow. She said, $56,000. I said, the average household income in Panama City is $41,000. We made more investing passively, making that decision, than the average person in that whole area does working a 9-to-5. That is investing. That's passive
huge.
Investing.
That's
and
huge.
We'll get cash flow from it. It's a huge deal. We're going to post about it. Like, this was our first full team win, going full cycle on a property. And I say it's full cycle. It's a 10 unit. It wasn't a syndication. It was a joint venture, but we took it from,
nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah.
Nothing
we took it from a storm damaged, unusable property to fully renovated, and we were able to get 10 veterans off the street through something called the VASH program. If you're not tracking the VASH program, it's Veterans Association of Subsidized Housing. It's basically Section 8 for veterans, and they get vouchers just like Section 8 homes, but you get it's to get veterans off the street. And me and Joey Bickham are active duty in the military, so we really enjoy the program. It's a great program, and we're going to have 10 of those people living in the house or living in that apartment complex by the end of next week. So cool, man. But
dude,
sorry, I went on a tangent.
No, man, that's, it's easy to look back and for someone to say, oh my God, they got so lucky.
Yeah. Right.
But like the the work and time and consistency. And then suddenly there's an opportunity, and you had the courage to, I don't want to say roll the dice, because it wasn't a dice roll. It was a calculated risk. It's like the worst case scenario. I mean, honestly, the worst case scenario is you get into it like, oh, we're selling this next week.
Yeah.
And you sell it for $300,000.
Yeah.
And as a group, you lost it. Like, there's no way, there's almost no way you could lose your entire investment.
Yeah. The land is still valuable.
Right. The property is still there. You know, there were 10 other bids on the property. So if you put it on the market, like somebody else can be like, oh, I get another chance.
Yep.
It's like, oh, now it's 360. Oh, well.
And they say risk versus reward. And there's a lot of people that hear this, you know, all cash 7-day contingency, no contingency 7-day close. There are a lot of people, approximately 10 of them that I know of, that weren't willing to take that risk. That means that they weren't willing to take that risk to get the reward that we just made $500,000 in 8 months, or we added that in equity. So risk versus reward. I'm not saying be hasty. It was calibrated. I would only do that in one market.
Don't be dumb.
I would only do that in one market. And it's because I know the market. I knew its growth potential. I knew the numbers. And the only thing that was holding me back for the previous 10 bids we got laughed off the lot was I wanted my money to be so safe and so secure that other people just had a higher risk tolerance than I did. And once I reduced my risk tolerance, my reward came in today, 8 months later, $500,000 for me and my team. So it's actually, I've learned that lesson. I'm going to implement it, but it's still, you have to calibrate risk, and then you have to mitigate risk. And as long as you have the ability to do so, then really, what's the worst that could happen?
Right.
Like you said.
Right.
So
figure out what the worst is going to happen. And then everything from there is upside.
Yeah, man. So where do we go from here? What is your guys' next move, Yeadon?
So right now we are focused almost 100%. I mean, we have Thursdays is our asset management day, where we have calls with the property management companies, looking at all the KPI spreadsheets for, you know, where we are on the path to stabilization and how the stabilized properties we have are doing. So we're still pushing those forward. We got a refinance we're working on. We got a couple properties we're selling this year. But really, Jennings and I have decided that we want to figure out how to add consistently more value into the deal room. Okay. How we can put more value there for all of the membership, whether it's with key members that we can invite to bring in for loan sponsorship, capital raising, or whether it's the social media guide that Jennings is working on, whether it's, you know, another evolution of our full course. We want all of the resources there inside the deal room for our students, for the people we're mentoring, for you, you know, for Jimmy Thorpe, for all of y'all to do just what you just said. Find deals and make money and make the world a better place.
Yeah, the financial freedom is something that I'm obsessed with, because I retire in 3 years from the military. And I've noticed myself lately getting just a little bit too comfortable, because I've got basically the day that I retire, I get 50% of my paycheck still comes into me, right? I'll be 38 years old. I've got passive income coming from real estate investments. And I've noticed that
you could retire.
Yeah. And it's, there's still things that I want to do, but there's a lot of shit I don't want to do anymore. Right. And a lot of that is the turning and burning. And what you were talking about earlier, the relationships, I'm kind of getting to the point where, you know, like the old guy, like, let these young whippersnappers do it, right? You got the motivated dude. And the thing is, I'm 34 years old. I'm not the old guy. I feel like it. I tweak my back, but there are guys that are up and coming. Like, I'm having coffee today. He's hungry, man. He's hunting down deals. He's underwriting stuff. He's doing all the stuff that I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore, man. Like, I'll do it, but it's got to be a clean, I got to be able to understand it in 5 minutes for me to even put $1 towards it. And you had better be able to show it to me in that way. And,
I had a conversation with actually one of the students in the deal room. She happens to be my sister, this one. She's
one of the students in the deal room.
One of the students in the deal room, my sister. And she was like, hey, what do you think of this? And I looked at it and I'm like, Austin, I don't understand what this is. What is this executive summary? Doesn't make any sense. That another student in the deal room had written, I'm like, tell him to use the template that we have because it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
It's not complex. But then I walked her through because it's my sister and, I have to see her at Thanksgiving. I'm going to have a call with her. I don't have the time to have, one-on-one calls all the time. She's my sister. Made some time this morning while I was having my morning coffee and walked her through like, Austin, this is, and we were talking about this earlier, like I'm not in the hunt aggressively trying to find a deal zone anymore. I've moved up a level to where other people are aggressively looking for deals and then bringing them to me like, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
And I was able to walk my sister through like, Austin, these numbers are wrong. And here's why.
Yeah.
To help her take one more step further. But if this had been a deal, like my sister and this other guy, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus because we're all learning. We all make mistakes. But like, if this had been a deal, they just joined the deal room in the past like 45 days.
Yeah.
It's like, now this wasn't because the numbers don't pencil out. Seller wants too much. Numbers don't work. But it's once you have the relationships, all you need is a deal.
Yeah.
And when the deal shows up, you have the whole team take it down, right? Like this deal in Panama. If you didn't have your team already ready and y'all already knowing what you're doing and already have the relationships, you'd have just been some dude looking online. It's like, 10 people tried to buy that. Wow. I wish I could.
Yeah. Oh, woe is me.
Yeah. Must be nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Little heart symbol on there. Yeah. It takes to me when, and I tell people this, and I'm probably going to have to tell this guy when we have coffee today, is when you make the decision, I want to be a syndicator. Right. And first of all, syndication is nothing more than a tool to get money to buy real estate. It's not, you don't syndicate properties, you syndicate funds to buy properties. Right. So whether you're partnered with somebody who's got money, whatever it may be, but the moment you say, I want to learn how to syndicate, I truly think you are probably 6 to 8 months away from actually being able to have your first property. Now there's obviously anomalies to that. If you invest in something like the deal room, you'll probably compress that timeline because there's people in there who are serious that can really help you out and are willing to help you out. But if you don't, and let's say for my team, we hired a coach, right? We spent close to $5,000 and said, you, sir, teach us how to do this over 6 months. My only goal is we close our first deal. And guess what? Within 6 months, we closed our first deal. We weren't the sponsors. I had it twisted. I thought we were going to be the sponsor. We were going to find the deal. We were going to close the deal. We were going to sponsor it. Then I started learning, you got to have a key partner. What's that? Yeah. Somebody who's worth more than the property. Well, that ain't me. You got to have, there's risk capital involved. What's that? That's probably about $300,000 or $400,000 you're gonna have to put down that you might lose and never get back. Oh shit!
Also not me.
Also not me. Yeah, right. I started learning the things what it really takes, and I'm hard-headed, dude. I always think I can do it myself. Syndicating humbled me and said, look, dude, you cannot
do this business solo.
Nobody wants to work with you because you haven't done it before. You got to go build relationships with people who have and don't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. Right. That like you said, you're not wanting to underwrite. Underwriting is God. I hate it. I want to rip my face off. I want to rip my face off when an underwriter is even talking to me, dude. Like I hate it, but I love I love looking at properties. I like doing due diligence on them. I like planning the vision. I love that stuff. So somebody who wants to underwrite it, partner with that person. Somebody who wants to go out and deal find and call brokers all day, partner with that person. Be work your way up to where essentially you guys are. And I'm trying to get to y'all's level. I think I said it to you the other day. We're a couple of years behind where y'all are at.
Well, when someone gets serious about this stuff and they really start focusing on the relationships, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
It changes 100%. It from an if, maybe this will happen one day, if I get lucky, to this is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And like you said, even if you have the team and you're building the team, 6 to 9 months, we have one, actually, this is Jennings' sister. She had 3 deals fall apart on her before she closed her first deal. But her first deal was a seller carryback. She owns 40% of this. It's cash flowing, changed her life.
Yeah. That's real money.
One deal changed her life.
So what would you say to somebody who is looking to get started in real estate, who doesn't know which route to go? Should I try to jump in on syndications, or should I try to buy my first investment property on my own and, potentially do some work on my own, self-manage, maybe those things? Because there's 2 completely different paths and mindsets there. What advice would you give that person?
So first off, I would say there is no wrong way to start. Starting is more important than what path you pick, because you can change paths. You can course correct if you realize this is not for me. You can change courses. Starting is more valuable and more critical than what it is you're starting. Because real estate, whether you're wholesaling, fix and flip, focusing on joint venture, syndication 506B, syndication 506C, and I'm using a bunch of acronyms right now that would have flown over my head 3 years ago. But if you're looking to get started in real estate, the best thing you can do is get in the room with the people who are doing what you want to do. Whatever it takes, however much it costs, that's what you got to do. Because if you get in the room with the people who are doing what you want to do, that year compresses to 90 days, compresses to 4 months, right? It's, learning from other people's mistakes and the relationships, right? Even if you're just going single family stuff and you're just going to do fix and flip, you still need to have relationships. That is not a 100% solo operator thing. You still need relationships now you might not be partners. It might just be like, vendors that you have relationships with, and agents and realtors and wholesalers, but you still got to have the relationships. So the relationships, and you can learn everything you want to know on YouTube. You can learn everything you need to know about syndication or flipping or anything on YouTube. The problem is, even though all the information is out there, it's probably not going to be organized in a linear fashion for you to understand. It's like, what goes first? Not the free stuff anyway. Yeah. Right. Yeah. The free stuff is not going to be organized, even though probably all of our educational material is on YouTube somewhere for free. Yeah. It's like all that stuff is out there for free. It's just a matter of finding it. So if you don't have any resources, use your time to find the free stuff. Get in a room where the people are doing what you're doing. Go to the meetups. Like our meetup, we have a meetup in June for anybody. Free group, paid group, come to the meetup. We're taking the paid group out on the yacht the next day for our high-level mastermind. But get to those meetups where Ramsey is, and he's just having beer with whoever wants to show up. Get to the meetups that we have where we're meeting at a brewery downtown Summerville. We're just talking business. That's where you get the relationships with the people. And then if you have the knowledge and the language, you can start to build a relationship. You can shortcut all of that by, paying to play, so to speak. Find a group, find somebody that you can pay to help you you guys paid $5,000 to a coach. Yep. Jennings and we paid $5,000 to go to a conference 3 years ago. We paid 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, to be in masterminds around people who are doing things that we want to do. Because we're all confined with inside the box thinking. The cliche is, well, you got to think outside the box. But the reality is, I cannot think outside of my own box. Yeah. The only way I can think outside the box is, I'm looking around for a book. I don't have a book is with a book or somebody else telling me something that's outside of my box. That's the only way. Box. Yeah, that's the only way you can get outside of your box. It's like, you got to be around people that are not in your box. You got to read books that are not in your box. That's the only way to get new ideas. And then, you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad for the first time. You're like, whoa. Yeah. How did I not know this? you get in your coach for $5,000 and you're like, that's some of the best money I have ever spent in my entire life.
100%.
So getting in the room with the people who do what you want to do and learning the industry, whether it's flipping, syndication, apartments, like education and relationships, those two things.
So when I first started out, I had a mentor. His name was Carl. And Carl, he may know he was my mentor or not, but I met him at a baseball game. I used to run tournaments for we have a baseball tournament business, and I used to run tournaments. And there was a guy who was just like the local real estate investor. His name was Carl. And I chatted with him. I said, man, I really want to get into real estate, man. What advice would you give me? And he was like, look, I'll give you a tangible takeaway. And he said, and this was back in 2015 when these numbers were actually able. He said, you take the asking price, you knock off the last 3 zeros, you double that. If you can make that in rent, buy it. If you can't, find a way to make that in rent. And I said, holy crap. And it ended up being a 2% return. It's like the 2% rule, right?
That's genius. That's easy.
I haven't seen a 2% rule. And I don't, they're gone now.
Those don't exist. But
I shit you not. The first little duplex that I bought it for $45,000. It rented for $450 a side. There were 2 sides. Math was simple. Said, okay, it's going to bring in $900 a month. I'll get it for 45. Knock off the last zeros and double it. $900. So this is it. And it was a little duplex in the hood, but the numbers worked. And he says, if you do that, that means your money's back in your pocket in 2 years. You can do it again in 2 more years. You do it again. You do it again. You do it again. And I was like, that was all I needed. That was mentorship complete. I got this.
Like that. You think just your box just got bigger is correct. What happened.
The problem was as the market rose and prices started going up, those deals got less and less, and I couldn't find them anymore. I was like, God damn, like this guy told me that this is what I need to do. It's not working anymore. So a couple of years later, I call him. I said, hey, remember that little rule? I said, are you buying things at like 15% cash on cash? He says, oh yeah, I've been gobbling those up. That 2% rule don't work anymore. You got to adjust. And I'm like, God, why didn't I call you? You know what I mean? Like he gave me the information. I decided not to call him. I'm going to show him how good I'm doing. And then I hit him up one day. Mind shift change, I just fired. And now I kind of understand what I was doing and I can make my own decisions. But getting going, it just took one conversation with one person that was doing what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And he told me the one thing that I needed to know to get started. And that's exactly what you're saying. How do you get in the room with those people? How do you get in the room with somebody who's thinking a way that you're not and can give you it doesn't take much, man. It was just one sentence that I stuck to and it got me started and it made me, I wouldn't say a bunch of money, but it made me enough money.
It got you started.
Real estate was,
you started on the path and now here we are on this podcast. Like,
100%.
Bam.
Yeah. Now I got my own podcast.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I think it's about time for us to roll into the final 3 questions that I ask everybody. The first question is, well, how do you define success?
Well, that's a whole nother 45-minute conversation.
Let's go.
I define success with really, how is my relationship with my wife and children?
Okay.
How is that relationship going? Because I can make more money. If I lost everything tomorrow, please, Jesus, I would start over again. But the relationships that I have with my children and the legacy that I'm going to leave, that's how I'm defining success. How am I going to impact the world after I'm gone? I've heard that the definition of hell, I've heard somebody say this, definition of hell is at the end of your life, seeing the person you could have become. Right?
Yeah.
So I am relentlessly pushing towards trying to become the person that I have the potential to be. And I use the relationships as a sounding board for how I'm doing. My wife and 4 children are, the key pieces to success in my world.
That's awesome, man. And me and my wife, because doing this stuff, man, it takes your time. You have to put time into it. And it's a constant point of contention, because what do? Do you spend time right now so that you can save time on the back end?
Right.
Or do you spend your time, you have to balance your time out. And there will be, if you get into this deep enough, there will be times where you and your significant other will sit there and ask yourselves, what is all this for? God damn it. Like a lot of what we do, you don't see the benefits for years down the road. Today, I'm not making money off this podcast. I'm not making money off the post I put off on Facebook, but I know that it's, if I put it out into the universe will pay me back.
You're building assets that are going to come back to you in the future.
Correct. And that's very important because who was it? Tim Kelly. I don't know if you know Tim Kelly. He's with Active Duty Passive Income. He's really big in the military investing world. He's part of the GoBundance, and he talks about in that GoBundance group, which is, you know what GoBundance is?
That's the first time I've heard this term.
It
sounds awesome.
You have to have $1 million in net worth to even be in it. So it would be one of those rooms, right? So you have $1 million net worth, you have to be invited into it, but it's a group of people, and I'm not in it, so I'm not promoting it. I don't know anything about it, but it's a group of people who hold each other accountable, share ideas, but they go out and they do a lot of like adventurous stuff. But Tim will tell me, he's like, dude, at some of these meetings, there's somebody there will be men in this room or women that are worth $100 million that are in there talking to somebody, maybe 100th of their net worth, but who they seek them out and say, hey man, your relationship with your wife is so strong. Can I sit down and you give me advice on it? Because they're counterbalanced. Like I'm worth $100 million, but my family is falling apart. And right now that's the most important thing in my life. What advice can you give me? That is powerful. That is
Jennings said
stuff.
something, I know in Jennings' podcast, one of the episodes, and this is something we heard at a conference we spoke at last year. One of the other speakers said this: you don't want to end up with a full bank account and an empty house.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, what is the point?
Yeah.
Having $100 million in the bank and having people who don't want to see you at Thanksgiving. What are you doing it for?
Yeah. What's all this for if I don't get to share it with you guys?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's great. Well, let's the next question is what is the biggest mistake that you have made in investing?
Oh, the biggest mistake I've made in investing. So far, unfortunately, this wasn't this I survived this mistake early on. Right when COVID hit and they were like, supply chain issues and tariffs and China and everything was going on. I was talking with one of our flooring vendors and he was like, hey, just in case, like we think flooring is going to rise by 25% in the next year. I got a line. You can buy this flooring. It's good flooring. The LVP, the stuff that we use in our stuff. So I wrote a check for $75,000 for like 55,000 square feet of flooring. Some unbelievable. They were going to warehouse it and everything. We were just going to use it in our projects over the next year. Guess what didn't happen? Prices didn't go up. Tariffs didn't make a difference. I had dumped, liquid $75,000 into flooring. It was sitting there. And then the relationship with that vendor actually soured a little bit because, well, it didn't sour, but they were really good at single family homes. Really good. They were not fast enough with apartments because with apartments, we need speed. It's like, if we lose a day on getting something renovated, that can cost us real money if we miss a deadline for when a tenant is going to move in.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to, move the flooring from their warehouse to somebody else. And it strained the relationship for sure. Not that we were good buddies before, but yeah, I had $75,000 sitting in flooring for a year and then had to go through the emotional turmoil of telling this guy's like, hey, appreciate you warehousing the flooring. We're not using you guys to install it. We're using these guys to install it. They're faster and cheaper. So now I do not buy materials in advance.
Yeah, dude, I can't stand the overhead of inventory. I won't have a business anymore. Me and my brother started a baseball bat business, and just the inventory, we would have to buy a certain amount to get a certain price, right? We have to buy in bulk to get a certain price.
You buy in bulk so you can save $5 each.
Yeah, but then you end up spending money on storing it, and if things don't work out, then you got to, like, I still have baseball bats in my garage from this company that we had, and it's money that we spent that's just sitting in my garage. To this day, it's cool when I can give one away, but really, I'm just giving away $100 of inventory. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't like it. Real estate, that's inventory, but it's active. It's inventory that I can sell right now. It's
exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the last one, we've kind of already talked about it, but I want to see if you can elaborate on it, is what really bruises your bananas in the world of real estate?
What really bruises my bananas? We did touch on this briefly. And I wouldn't say it frustrates me, because I understand now that we have some education stuff online. Like, there's nothing wrong with that model. I'm not knocking that model at all. What I see that is actually, you know what? Here we go. Because I see this all the time. I see syndicators telling people to go too big.
Yeah.
How big was your first deal?
My first one that we syndicated?
Yeah.
119 units.
Well, what about that 10 unit? Was that the 119 was the first one? The 10 unit was after that?
That was a joint venture. Yeah.
That's the same. That's the same.
Okay.
Like, when I'm going to say joint venture syndication, that's still the same. You're raising money from somebody.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the legal protection, the limited liability of the syndication, you're still partnering with people and asking people to invest with you.
Yeah.
And my first deal was 18 units.
Yeah.
My largest deal is 208 units. Closing to 18 units was actually fairly simple. Our next deal was 63 units. Closing 63 units, that was tough. That was complex. Closing 80 units, that's more complex. Closing over 100 units is even more complicated. I see operators who are teaching and mentoring, saying, go big or go home. Don't mess with anything under this size. And that frustrates me, because I know how difficult it is to close. Like, the 119, was that more difficult to close than the 10?
Yes. It took a whole team. It took a team of people. Like, we had George Abreu on there. We had Wesley Yates. We had dudes who had been doing these deals all the time.
Yeah.
We were just
a huge team.
Cog in it. Yeah.
So you were caught. And then closing a smaller deal. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it irritates me when I see somebody stopping or getting frustrated because they can't find a big deal that makes sense. I was like, there's a 15 unit over here. It's perfect. There's a 8 unit over there. There's a 25 unit over there. In these in smaller markets, maybe secondary, tertiary markets, smaller units, smaller unit count. I get frustrated when I see gurus telling, broadcasting, go big, go home, don't mess with anything under a certain unit count. Especially when somebody's getting started. When someone's getting started, I don't care if it's 5. And now, if it's a 4-plex, that's not actually commercial real estate.
Yeah.
But hey, it's something. It's easy to go from a 4-plex to a 6-plex. It's easy to go from a 6-plex to a 12, from a 12 to a 20, from a 20 to a 40. It's easy to to scale up, but it's only easy to scale once you have started and once you have something that you've closed.
Yeah.
If you closed one commercial property, one multifamily property, you can close as many as you want. It's just a matter of time and relationships. Getting the first deal. Michael Blank calls it the law of the first deal.
Yeah.
Like, and we tell people in the deal room, like, hey man, whatever it takes to get into a deal, if it's your first deal, it'll be worth it. If your partners want more equity than you think is fair, like, dude, this is the start. You're thinking short-term, quibbling over 5% of a $500,000 deal.
Yeah.
Right. Get these relationships in place, show how valuable you are to your team, and keep pushing forward. And then you'll be able to close as much as you want over the course of however long you want to do this. That really irritates me when I see big names in this industry pushing out, go big or don't go.
I agree. So to back up, like, my first syndication might have been 119 units, but I had done, I had started with a duplex, did a triplex, did a 7 unit, did a 6 unit, did a 9 unit, bought a hotel, like and did a 10 unit, and then jumped up when we decided to syndicate. Joined a team of people who had done hundreds of like I think George had like 2,000 something units.
Yeah, George is a monster out there.
So when that's another concept that I talked about with Jennings a couple of weeks ago, was that borrowed confidence. I'm like, I trust that this guy can handle it. I trust that Wesley Yates can handle it. I trust them. I'm borrowing their confidence.
Yeah.
And what this is doing, I'm not going to make a lot of money off of that project. We were a small percent of a small percent, but it got us a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the room, right? Get in the room.
Right. Yeah.
And now at the meetings, I get to see how they're thinking. What's the next step? What are they working on? What's important to them? What questions are they asking? And now when I turn around, the next deal that we did was a 32 unit. We did a 32 unit with another team that was kind of on track with our team. Had about the same level of experience. And because I had previous experience in a different deal, knew what questions to ask, knew what to look for on them. And that 32 unit, we're probably going to make a lot more money on that 32 unit than we will the 119 unit. Like me personally, because the first one was kind of, let's call it,
you got 5% of the GP, and the GP was only 20%.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly.
They had like 1.5% of a deal. Yeah, the deal's worth $5 million. 1.5%. That's 55. That's 75 grand.
Yeah, and then you split that 3 ways because of our team, and they break it down even further. That's a 5-year plan. So you're not. It
sounds real impressive. That's the other thing, and I think it feeds right into that. Where it's like, man, I got a portfolio of $1,000, $4,000, $10,000. Like now that I'm on the inside, I know. Like, you got 10,000 doors. What percentage do you own of those 10,000 doors? Like, I need to understand, so I can understand where you're coming from. What getting in a deal? If you only have 1%, it's worth it. Get in your first deal. Yeah. Understand. Get in the room so you can understand the questions, understand the dangers, the risks, the rewards.
It's the tuition, man. You got to pay. You got to pay your tuition to get in the room, and that's really it's sweat equity at that point. If you're on the GP side, you are giving sweat equity, but it's on the job training. You're getting paid to do it, and if this is really something that you want to do, it's what you got to do. So that's awesome, man. I agree with you on that, because I took the slow route, and I called it. To me, I even wrote a post about this as play chess, not checkers, right? And I think people who are just looking for deal count, and people who are just looking for, this is how many deals I've been involved in. You're playing checkers, right? I'm playing chess. I'm going to learn, execute, scale, learn, execute, scale, learn, execute, scale. If you just jump right to scaling, you're going 100 miles an hour. When that speed bump hits, your shit's going to fall apart. So I agree.
That's right.
Well, cool. Yeadon, what is, for anybody who wants to get a hold to you, how can they do so? How can they learn about you? Go ahead and plug anything you guys got going on for our listeners, and then we'll wrap up the show, brother.
Let's see. We got a great place to find us. Obviously on Facebook, My First Million in Multifamily, free group to join. Yes, we're going to ask you for your email address when you join, but that's only so we can, send podcast recordings and quality content about how to do stuff in this business. We have our My First Million in Multifamily Deal Room, which is our mentorship program. It's by application only. Our April cohort is already full. We're taking deposits and reservations for who's coming in May now. And when that fills up, then it'll be to June. So it's, just like you were saying, like scaling slowly. We can't have 300 people join the deal room at once. That would bury it. So we're growing slowly, keeping it quality, and people who are invested in their success. So My First Million in Multifamily.com talks about our education stuff. But really, Facebook is the best place to really get to know us, see the broadcasts that we've done over the past year, see everything that's going on in there, and learn about what we do.
Awesome, brother. Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming on to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. I hope you consider me in your network, and thank you for coming on to the show, brother.
Ramsey, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for listening to the Gorilla State Investing Podcast, where we give you the ground-pounding truth about what it takes to be successful in real estate. Learn more at realfocus.org/Gorilla State Pod.